Welcome to Highly Sensitive Healing. I'm Lauren LaSalle, a former therapist, a highly sensitive person, and a mentor for HSPs. For too long, I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt everything deeply, sounds, emotions, other people's moods, and I learned pretty early on just to push through, to quiet my intuition, and to try to keep up with what everyone else was doing and what society expected of me. But the truth is, my sensitivity was never the problem. I just didn't have the language, support, or tools to understand it. This podcast was created for highly sensitive people who are tired of trying to toughen up or fix themselves and are ready to heal in a way that honors how they're wired. Here we talk about nervous system regulation, unhelpful thought patterns, emotional overwhelm, and self-trust through a gentle, compassionate lens. You don't need to become someone new to feel better. You don't need to push harder or try more. You get to learn how to care for yourself in ways that actually work for you. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, misunderstood, or like you were carrying too much, this space is for you. My hope is that each episode helps you feel a little less alone and a little more at home in yourself. So, wherever you're listening from, welcome. Take a breath, settle in, and let's begin. Welcome to Highly Sensitive Healing. I am so excited for today's episode because today is episode 1 of my podcast mini course called Reclaim Your Calm. This will be a 5-episode mini course right here on the podcast. And the reason I decided to do this is because when I was doing my mom podcast, Mom Your Way, didn't last for very long. I really felt like this is where I need to be. But anyway, when I was doing that podcast, I did this mini course on that podcast. And I don't know why, but for some reason on YouTube, it got so many views, like a ridiculous number of views compared to everything else that I have on YouTube. So I decided to do this mini course on highly sensitive healing as well and just make it for HSPs, because what I go over in this mini course is something that I think probably all of us deal with. Even if we are not highly sensitive, I think people deal with this too, but we do more so because we tend to process things more deeply. And I have been hearing a lot of people saying recently they are getting stuck in a spiral. And so I really am excited to bring this all to you so that if that also is you, if you tend to be feeling stuck in loops of self-doubt and spirals and you're just overthinking, these next 5 episodes are for you. Okay, so let's get into it. Like I was saying, this podcast mini course is for HSPs who are feeling stuck in a loop of self-doubt, of overwhelm, and overthinking. You might catch yourself thinking things like, why am I like this? Or I should be able to handle more. And if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. I know I've had those thoughts myself more than once in my life. So in this episode, we are going to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves, those automatic, often not so nice thoughts that we have that feel like facts. These thoughts might sound like, I'm too sensitive, I need to toughen up, everybody else seems to handle things better than I do. And these thoughts are actually not ours. These thoughts are learned. They come from our childhood experiences. They come from societal expectations. They come from family dynamics. They come from the pressure to be somebody that you are not. Remember, our society is definitely not set up for HSPs. Just keep that in mind. And so over time, these things start to feel true to us. They start to feel like they are facts. But guess what? A thought is not a fact. A belief is a thought that you have repeated many times. So I want to ask you, what would shift if you gave yourself permission to question those stories. Because most of the time, we just accept them. They're just running in the background. Sometimes we are aware that we're having these thoughts, but do we ever actually question these stories? So take a minute to sit with that question. What would shift if you gave yourself permission to question those stories? Think about a recent time when you felt overstimulated, overwhelmed, emotionally flooded. What were you thinking? And what assumptions did you make about yourself in that moment? If you need to pause this, that's fine. Maybe you were thinking something like, other people wouldn't get so upset about this, or I should be able to handle this by now. And these thoughts are so common, but they don't have to be your truth. When these types of thoughts go unchecked, they just become the background noise of our day. They're just running in the background. They are shaping how we feel, how we show up, and how we connect with ourselves and with others. It's like carrying around a giant weight that you didn't even realize was there. But the moment that you name that thought, you take the first step in loosening its grip on you. So today, your invitation is just to notice the most common thoughts that you have. No judgment. So that means we are not judging ourselves for having these thoughts. We are just noticing, oh, I am having this thought. Not, I'm having this thought, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I'm having, no judgment. We are just being curious and noticing. So when you are feeling activated, overstimulated, or like you are about to become burnt out, just pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? So this might sound like I'm too much or I can't handle this. So write those thoughts down or say them out loud. And the point isn't to argue with it. It's just to get curious. Where did that thought come from? Whose voice is it? Is it actually yours, or is it just something you picked up along the way during your life? Because so often these thoughts aren't even ours. They are just old echoes from a parent, a teacher, a boss, or some moment in your life that made you feel too sensitive. And they've just been hopping along for the ride ever since. So let's also talk about perfectionism for a minute, because it is something that so many HSPs struggle with. So maybe you learned that being good meant being calm, kind, helpful, never a burden. So when you feel deeply, when you need rest or you need to say no, it can trigger feelings of guilt or shame. And that assumption that you must always be okay just becomes another story that you carry with you that shapes how you respond to things. So remember that you are allowed to be human. You are allowed to be the human that you are. You don't have to be someone you're not. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to struggle. And you are allowed to still be worthy, lovable, and enough. And that is part of rewriting the script, letting go of the lie that you need to be less sensitive to be okay. There is nothing wrong with you, just the way you are. So before we wrap up for today, I want to leave you with a little practice. So grab a journal or just do this mentally if that works better for you. I would like you to write down one thought that often comes up when you are feeling overstimulated or self-critical. I would like you to write down where you think that thought may have come from, and then write down one truth that you want to start believing instead. So, for example, I'm too sensitive could become my sensitivity is my strength, or I should be handling more becomes I'm allowed to move at my own pace. So let that reframe be your anchor, even if it doesn't really feel real yet. Even if you're not believing it yet, even if it's just a whisper, it's something. It's a step in the right direction. In the next episode, we will talk about how these thoughts show up in your body, because mind and body are so connected, and why mindset work is never just in your head. So, until next week, remember to be gentle with yourself. You are doing better than you think. Thank you so much for listening to Highly Sensitive Healing. You can help support the podcast by taking a minute to rate and review it, share your favorite episode with a friend, or become a subscriber on Patreon. Visit laurenlasalle.com for information about my mentorship programs, join my email list to stay up to date with how I can support you, as well as exclusive email list perks, and connect with me on Instagram at I am Lauren LaSalle. Happy healing.